Right now I am on a cruise ship, and maybe the most famous cruise ship ever is the Titanic. And the Titanic took her maiden voyage from Southampton, England in 1912. So I thought while I'm in Southampton, I can commemorate my visit by visiting some of the most important places in Southampton related to the Titanic. And I know this is a touchy topic. There's some words you don't say on an aeroplane. There's some words that you don't say on a cruise ship, and Titanic is one of those words. But I feel like everybody has seen the movie, everybody knows the story, and Southampton played a huge part in the story of the Titanic. So let's go out there and let's see some of the hot spots in Southampton related to the RMS Titanic. Welcome to Southampton in the south of England. The most complicated immigration process I've ever had trying to get back into my own country. I'll tell you about that later, but let's just get it out there. Southampton is nowhere near London. If you cruise from Southampton, which many people do, you are nowhere near London. London is 80 miles in that direction. My recommendation is take the train from London to Southampton. It's going to take about an hour and a half. Do not take a taxi. It's going to cost you $200-300 to get to Southampton from London. You can take a bus as well, but in my recommendation is take the train. If you have not been keeping up with my cruise on board the Costa Diadema, where have you been? It's been so much fun up until now. Today is day 6 of a 10-day cruise. There are so many cruise ships here this morning. We are right next to Royal Caribbean's Independence of the Seas. And interestingly enough, when we was in Lisbon 4 days ago, we were also next to the Independence of the Seas. There are like 8 different cruise ships over there. Maybe we're gonna see them, but today is all about the Titanic. I didn't know if I was going to make this video or not because I know it's a touchy subject, especially being on a cruise ship. That is one of the movies you will never ever see shown on a cruise ship. They're not going to show Titanic on a cruise ship, but I've always wanted to do this. I've cruised out of Southampton 3 or 4 times, and I've always wanted to see the locations of the Titanic. There is the port entrance for Southampton. Make sure you know where your ship is, because there is a lot of different docks there. So many ships come to Southampton. It's literally a 5-minute walk from the ship to get outside the port, and then the train station is like a 10 or 15-minute walk. Definitely take the train. So my recommendation, if you ever cruise to Southampton, is definitely go to London if you've never been before, but do not go by yourself. We have really crap trains in the UK. They're extremely unreliable. So I recommend going on an official excursion with the cruise line. It's probably going to cost you $100 for them to take you to London and bring you back, but you're guaranteed to get back on the ship, because if you go by yourself and you don't make it back, then the ship will not wait for you. Another thing you can do when you cruise to Southampton is, I'm not going to recommend it because I've never done it before, but they're running excursions to Stonehenge. I'm pretty sure it was voted one of the most overrated attractions like in the UK or in the world or something. I've never been there, but go there if you want. So I joined the ship in Lisbon, Portugal. So far we've been to Portugal, Spain and France. And before my cruise, before I got on it, the ship was in Brazil. So there's a lot of Brazilians on this cruise. And I was speaking to some of them. This is their first time ever in Europe. So it's their first time in all of these countries before. And unfortunately, the first time they're gonna go to England, it's gonna be Southampton. We're almost at our first destination, so let's do a quick rundown of the dates related to the Titanic. So, April the 10th, 1912, the Titanic departed from Southampton right here at noon. It made one stop in Cherbourg, France via tender boats, and April the 11th, the next day, it stopped in Cove Island. That was the last stop before it headed to New York City. Our Titanic tour starts at maybe the most important place. Right now there is a Cunard ship docked in the exact spot that the Titanic was docked in 1912. This is dock number 4, berth 44. The Titanic was sitting right there. That means that the Titanic passengers would have walked right down this street to board the Titanic. I think it's important to say that people cruise today to go to the buffet, to sit around the pool and to travel the world. But these people that boarded the Titanic, they were on their way to start a new life in New York City, in America. And there was so much hope and so much promise that day. Well, those few days after that as well. But how cruising has changed, huh? I am currently walking the exact same pathway as the passengers would have walked to get on the ship. That is an amazing piece of history. Imagine the excitement that they felt that morning, seeing the ship, boarding the ship, and on their way to a new life. If we take a look around today, the hustle and bustle of an everyday street, nothing special, but there is a plaque here. It says, "In memory of the passengers and crew of RMS Titanic, which sailed from the nearby berth 43 on her maiden voyage on the 10th of April 1912 and sank on the 15th of April 1912 with the loss of over 1,500 lives." Just a few minutes walk away from the dock is the Southwestern House. Now this was a first-class hotel which some of the richest passengers stayed the night before boarding the Titanic. So they would have slept here, they would have woke up that morning, walked down this street and boarded the Titanic right over there. And one of the most significant people to stay at the Southwestern House the night before boarding the Titanic is the president of the White Star Line. Those are the people that operated the Titanic. Here is Southwestern House. There's a door here. Maybe this is the original door that the rich passengers would have used to head to the dock just down there. So on the corner there is the hotel, and here we have the Canute Chambers. This was the headquarters of the White Star Line. Those are the people that operated the Titanic. And something that I did not know is these railings played a very, very important role, because relatives of people on the Titanic, they gathered here and they waited for names to be posted, whether their relatives were dead or alive. And again, there is a plaque here. It says, "The building housed the offices of the White Star Shipping Company, owners of the RMS Titanic, which sank on April the 15th, 1912 after striking an iceberg off Newfoundland on her maiden voyage. It was here that hundreds of local people waited for news of their loved ones. 549 Southampton people died in the disaster." I had no idea that so many people from Southampton were on the Titanic. I did not know that. Over 500. Passing by the Southwestern House again. Let's go to the pub. Taking a walk through Queen's Park. In this area, the passengers would have gathered waiting to board the Titanic just over there. Imagine the scenes on that day. Like I said, the excitement, the happiness, the optimism, heading to New York City. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff around Southampton that's named after stuff related to the Titanic. So this pub is called the White Star Inn, but we are here to see this pub called the Grapes. So the Grapes was a very popular pub for seafarers, sailors. So while the rich first-class passengers were in their 5-star first-class hotel, maybe some of the second and third-class passengers were here at the Grapes getting their last drink before heading to the Titanic. Today is all about real life, but let's talk about the Titanic movie just for a second. So if you remember, right at the beginning of the movie, Jack won his ticket in a game of cards in a pub. That pub is never named in the movie, but it's probably the Grapes. It's probably right here. At the front of the pub, there is a plaque here. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you can pause the video and read it if you want to. It's about the Slade brothers' lucky escape. I'll just sum up what happened to the Slade brothers quickly. So 3 of them were drinking here. They met 2 friends and they didn't leave enough time to get to the ship, which was only a 10-minute walk over there. A train was crossing the street. The 2 friends decided to go for it and they made it onto the Titanic. But the 3 brothers were too late and the Titanic left without them. Of course, they were extremely disappointed. They probably returned to the pub to drown their sorrows, but they found out a few days later that the Titanic sank. The 2 friends actually survived the sinking. They moved back to Southampton and then they died here. But the 3 brothers, the train probably saved their lives. And we can see a memorial of the Titanic just above the sign. Man, I love this stuff so much. I love that some of the stuff is still here, that you can actually see it. So it's such a shame that historic stuff doesn't survive. Of course, the story of the Titanic, it was famous anyway, but it was made more famous by the movie. And I have no idea why the cruise lines don't offer this as an excursion. This would be such a fun tour to do, Titanic tour of Southampton. The next destination is the Holy Rood Church ruins. Over here they have a memorial to the crew of the Titanic.
I remember my father, he did talk about this ship. The biggest ship in the world,
This is really cool. I highly recommend going onto YouTube. There are so many interviews with people like, I mean, they were kids at the time, but people that were actually on the Titanic and survived. All of the places I've been so far, they're very close together and they're very close to the port. We have a few more things to see in the north of the city, so we're going to walk about half a mile here. Luckily, it's a nice day today, no rain so far. There is not too much going on in Southampton, to be honest. A lot of the history is to do with the sea, is to do with sailors and ships. Southampton is definitely not a place that people come for a holiday because it's not really a beach city. Yes, it's near the sea, but it's usually people come here to get on a ship. Still feels weird cruising to England. If you didn't know, Asda is operated by the same people as Walmart, so that's the UK's Walmart. It's called Asda. I am a little bit north of the city and this is Watts Park, and they have a few interesting plaques and memorials. A huge bike tour just got here the same time as me, but this is the Engineers Officers Memorial, and if you remember from the movie, those were the guys that put the coal in the engine, and a lot of them got stuck. They got stuck in the engine room because they were trying to keep the ship going, and this is their memorial. And just across the street from the Engineers Memorial is something that a lot of the passengers of the Titanic remember. You probably already know who I'm talking about. Of course, I'm talking about the band, the musicians. They have their own memorial here as well. And like I said, I highly recommend listening to the interviews of the people that were on the Titanic, and a lot of them, or pretty much all of them, say they do remember the band playing right until the end. And of course, going back to the movie, the band continuing to play really kept people's spirits up. And I like this. It says, "They died at their post like men." That is all the Titanic I have for you today, but if you want more, you can visit the Sea City Museum, which will give you the complete Titanic history related to Southampton. Just passing by Southampton Central train station. Like I said, this is how I recommend getting from London to Southampton for your cruise. Do not take a taxi. I repeat, do not take a taxi. It's going to cost you $200 to $300 US. Don't do it. The train is probably going to take an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's going to cost you £20, £25 maybe. Definitely the best way. There are always many taxis outside the train station, or you can just walk 10-15 minutes right to the port. Very easy. And I don't recommend staying in Southampton overnight, to be honest. Do it if you want the convenience of waking up and being right next to the port. But there's nothing to do in Southampton. It's not my favorite city, to be honest. So I recommend flying into London, stay in London maybe 1 or 2 nights, and then travel to Southampton on the morning of your cruise. I have made it back to the cruise port here in Southampton. Like I said, those people boarded a ship for a completely different reason than I boarded this ship. I boarded this ship to go to the buffet, sit around the pool, see some interesting places, but those people are starting a new life. So I hope that you enjoy this Titanic tour of Southampton, but it's time to cruise 2025 style. Let's go to the buffet. When the Titanic was built in 1912, it was the biggest and the best cruise ship in the world. If it was built today, it wouldn't even rank in the top 100 in terms of biggest ships. It's incredible how advanced the cruise industry is today. The Costa Diadema is currently docked at the Horizon Cruise Terminal. In my opinion, cruising is the best way to travel. If you've never been on a cruise before, highly recommend it. And working on a cruise ship was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I used to work for Royal Caribbean on the Voyager of the Seas. But we're cruising with Costa. Let's talk about Costa for a second, and specifically the immigration process that every single passenger had to go through today to come to the UK. I have a UK passport. Most of the passengers on board do not. There's a lot of Brazilians, there's a lot of Europeans, and I understand some of those people might need a visa, they might need some paperwork, but every single person had to show their passport to the UK Border Force this morning. They came onto the ship and it was so unorganized. It was absolutely ridiculous. People were screaming, people were fighting, people were getting annoyed. I was in line for over 1 hour. And like I said, I understand this needs to be done. I understand most people on the ship, they had to show some paperwork, they had to get a visa, but I didn't. I have a UK passport. So I get to the front of the line finally. The UK Border Force guy looked at my passport, UK, okay, bye. I was literally with him for 1 second. I understand every single person needs to go through this process, but Costa, you need to sort people into lines, because there's no reason why I had to wait 1 hour to go through immigration to get into my own country. He didn't even look at my passport. He said, UK, okay, bye. Like some of the other people, they have to show like 5 different paperworks and visas and stuff. That is completely fine, but why am I waiting behind these people to go to my own country? It was ridiculous. People were fighting and screaming and shouting, and it was just so unorganized. And it's not the first example of Costa being unorganized, to be honest, but they need to fix that. Anyway, let's go back on board. And we enter the ship right into the atrium. If you have not seen the ship yet, check out my other videos, but we have a fun evening planned on board the Costa Diadema. It is now 3 p.m. The ship was set sail at 6 p.m. just entering the theater here, because tonight is a very special night. Yes, we are in England, so can you guess what the show is tonight? The Beatles. Yes, I will be back in the theater watching the Beatles tonight. As I enter the buffet here, I just want to talk about what I talked about earlier. The immigration line was so unorganized, so I spoke to one of the guest services people who's Italian, and they said it's the Italian way. Every single thing on this ship has been unorganized. Everything starts late, and they keep telling me it's the Italian way, so the buffet's no different. It's so busy, it's so chaotic, but I guess that's the Italian way. This is lunch today. Got some pizza and some meat, chicken and pasta, of course, 2 chocolate cakes. It's lunchtime, baby. Yes, that was a light lunch. Gotta save myself for dinner at 7. Let's go and do trivia, almost 4 o'clock. Just passing by the atrium again. I said it in the previous video, for such a big ship, this is a very, very small atrium. Going back to like the Italian way, I don't know if this is the Italian way. Don't get mad at me, by the way, because that's just what an Italian person told me. Every single event on the ship starts late. Trivia was supposed to start at 4 and it started at 4:10 just because the crew members are doing this. They talk to everybody, so there's like so many people waiting for the quiz to start because everybody's on time, but every single thing starts late. Every single show, every single event, every game show, everything starts late. It gets frustrating, to be honest, because you get there early to get prepared and then they're just talking. We are in the UK, so my SIM card works here, so I'm going to use some of the internet. If you've never cruised before, internet is not free. It's extremely expensive. I think for this 10-day cruise, it was something like $200 or something for the whole cruise, which it can get expensive for Wi-Fi. So some people need it for work, some people don't. If you watch my previous videos from this cruise, the ship is empty. I've never ever been on a ship that's so empty. The dining room's half empty. The theater's never full, which is good. I'm not complaining about it. Now I'm right at the back of the ship. I love cruising so much. Being on a cruise ship is such an incredible feeling. And there's another pool here, right at the back of the ship. There's a bar up there. Welcome to deck 5, the casino. I have a funny story about the casino last night. So I came here at like midnight last night watching the roulette. There were so many people watching and playing, and this lady was there. And she had so many chips, but she was winning a lot, but she was also losing a lot. And she hit a big one. I think it was like number 18, but she had so many chips on it, and she got so upset when she won. So everyone's like, why is she upset? And then she said, oh, it's my ex-wife's birthday. So everyone was like, you bet on your ex-wife's birthday and then you won and you're upset about it? She was like, yeah. But the thing is, she was with, I assume, was her new wife. It was 2 ladies, so... They do have a teppanyaki restaurant, which is when the chef cooks right in front of you. I did this on the Norwegian, I think it was the Norwegian Spirit. So much fun. So I hope people watch my videos to be a little bit entertained, but to get some information as well. So I feel like it's important for me to be honest in my videos, and I'm an honest person. So one thing you must know if you ever cruise with Costa, and also MSC does it as well, they're both Italian cruise lines, is they explain everything in about 6 different languages. So it takes a long time to get anything started. So every single time the cruise director introduces a show, he would do it in 6 languages. Every time they start a game show, they will explain the rules in 6 different languages. Now, To me personally, I speak English, so this becomes extremely annoying because it takes 10 or 15 minutes just to introduce the show, just to explain the rules for a game show. And usually they will start with English, so they will say, okay, let's go guys, let's get excited. So everybody's cheering, everyone gets excited, and then 10 minutes later he's still explaining because he's speaking German, he's speaking French, he's speaking Italian, he's speaking Spanish. And like I said, for me this is not good because I understand the first one, but if you don't speak English, then it's going to be good for you. It is now 6 o'clock. 5:30 was the onboard time, and the gangway is right there, and they have not closed the gangway. That means someone's not back, somebody's late. And I am ready to go. Tonight's outfit is white shirt, red chinos, and black shoes. Let's go. So every night they have a recommended dress code. You don't have to follow it, but today, because we're in England, it is red and white. I've never been here before. This is on deck 5. I didn't even know there was an outdoor deck here. So up there, that is the bridge. And people have this misconception about the captain. The captain never ever steers the ship. The officers steer the ship. The captain doesn't do it. Beautiful views here. I wonder why we haven't left yet. There must be something going on. The ropes are still attached, and I see some ambulance people down there. So maybe we have an emergency. Hide and seek would be a good game to play on a ship. You know, there's so many places that you can hide. So much goes on below the deck that passengers have no idea about. This is beautiful. Let's go to dinner. You see what I mean about them starting late? It's 7:05, dinner starts at 7, and the waiters are having a meeting. I just had to run outside and show you that. Look at that, oh my gosh. One of the best parts about cruising is the sunrises and the sunsets. Quick word about dinner. The chicken soup, absolutely delicious, but that caramel dessert, oh my gosh, it will blow your brains out. It was so good. One good thing about Costa is the portion sizes are huge. How is this big ship floating? I don't know. It's magic. The show is in about 1 hour. Usually this time of the night I jump around the ship a little bit. There's so much music going on. Love live music so much. So let's see what we can find. I'm also wondering if some more British people joined the ship today from Southampton. Maybe they did, because I've only met probably 3 or 4 British people on this cruise so far. A lot of Brazilians, like I said, they've been on the ship since Brazil a few weeks ago. Of course, a lot of Italians, Spanish, Europeans. Not too many Americans actually, only a few, and a few British as well. My favorite cruise itinerary I've ever done is still Iceland and Norway, and I went there when they had the midnight sun, so the sun never set, so you see things like this every single day. Amazing. Not enough words to describe it. Incredible. There it goes. See you tomorrow. Let's get a good spot for the show. 10 minutes to go.
Todos en vivo. Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, guten Abend, noch einmal und herzlich willkommen im Theater.
Wow, that was so much fun. Definitely the most fun that I've had this cruise so far. That was so amazing. Oh my gosh. The funny thing is, I assume they're Italian and they were trying to do like Liverpool accents with their Italian accent. It was so funny, but they were so good. The whole crowd, every single person in the audience was singing and dancing. That was a fun show. Oh my gosh, I love the Beatles so much. I could listen to the Beatles every single day. Wow, that was fun. I don't think it matters what language you speak. Everybody in the world knows the Beatles. And all of that happened on a cruise ship. Amazing. I'm so thankful that I get to do fun cruises like this and I get to film it and I get to show you. I hope that you enjoyed today. Today was a great day. Hope that you found the Titanic stuff interesting and then you saw an evening on board a modern cruise ship. Times have changed since the Titanic, but it's been a great day. Tomorrow we are in Rotterdam, Netherlands, another new city for me, so I'm excited to see that. Hit subscribe if you want to go to Rotterdam with me and beyond. We still have a few more days of this cruise and then there's going to be a big surprise coming up very soon. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. Hit the like if you enjoyed it. Check out the other videos in this cruise series if you haven't already, but it's not over yet. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.